This conversation about building up your blueprint. It's time to take it cause time is wasted. Go grind and chase it, don't lose it. This generation need integration with information to move with. An inclination that is abiding in entertaining improvement.
Hey Blueprint Nation, what's going on to another fantastic episode of the Respect My Blueprint podcast. We are back. Super excited as always. This is your main man, Blueprint Mastermind, giving you another episode on how we give you the blueprint on how to do shit around here, all right? Okay. Today, we are going to dive into everybody's favorite topic about money. Money. Okay. And my guest today is going to go ahead and break down on how to be able, not just talk about money, but how to be able to go ahead and build momentum to be able, and the mindset that you need to be able to accumulate wealth and money as well too. You know, he's a corporate finance executive as well as an author of his upcoming book, Searching for a Change, which we're going to go ahead and talk about today. I'm super excited about my guest today. You know, growing up in the Appalachia and becoming a power player in corporate finance, my guest has seen it all, guys. Military vet, banking boss, finance fixer, and now best-selling author. Man, he's building up quite a resume over there, man. Okay. So he's helped companies stack millions. He's mentored next generation lenders, as well as he's lived to tell the tale of all of the experiences we've just went ahead and mentioned short while ago. So going from the battlefield to now with the enemies, now dealing with Wall Street and the wisdom from those trenches. Okay. We're going to go ahead and talk about it. So let's go ahead and welcome our guest to the Blueprint Show, Jan Ackley. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm great. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
You're very, very, very welcome, man. I'm glad to have you here. You know, always awesome to have these type of conversations where we're talking, like I mentioned earlier, money, right? Like,
yeah.
All right. So with that being said, if you could go ahead and do us a quick favor, share a little bit about yourself to go ahead and kickstart the conversation and the show. You know, I did my best to do you justice, but let the audience know a little bit. Who is Jan? You know, what's his background? What's his story? And, you know, what's all of these things we're hearing about a book, war vet, corporate finance, and everything like that, right?
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Little high-level background. I grew up in Eastern Ohio in a little town. It's a little town in Appalachia. And, you know, I grew up in a single-parent household, just struggled constantly with money. My mother worked hard, but we just lacked a lot of things. You know, and growing up, didn't have a lot of confidence. You know, I come from a family that's generationally poor, uneducated type of a thing. And so I knew I needed to, I think I was in like a junior in high school. And I thought, man, I need to change. I have to break this and figure out how to be happy in life mainly and really just not be poor. And so yeah, it's just, I got tired. I was a kid and I was just tired. I lacked a lot of things. And so when I was in high school in my senior year in the spring, I enlisted in the Air Force, really in preparation to go into the Ohio Air National Guard. So that was a big thing for me to learn discipline. And I just knew the things I lacked and discipline and things like that. And I wasn't very smart, but at least I knew a couple of things that I needed to change. So as a senior, I went into the Air Force basic training and tech school, but then went into the Ohio Air National Guard. I wish I could say I was, a combat veteran and all that kind of thing, but I was in the military for 12 years. I didn't see any combat or anything like that, but I was ready if called. And it was goes back to 1982 when I enlisted, but then, as I stayed in for a number of years, the first Gulf War happened and I didn't have to go, but we were ready if we needed to. But anyway, got married young. I've been married for almost 41 years, have 5 kids, 8 grandchildren. I graduated from the Ohio I graduated from Ohio State and just kept climbing the ladder.
Okay. Awesome. So you've obviously the start of everything was your career with the Air Force and everything. So what made you want, after the Air Force, what was the decision to go ahead and get into corporate finance? So what was your first corporate finance job?
Yeah. So the reason I want to, and my degree is in business administration with a focus in finance. And
Okay.
I did it because I didn't know anything about money. I grew up with
Right.
no money. And I
Right.
thought, I need to learn about money. And I didn't know how it worked. Didn't know how it worked. Didn't know, much of anything about it.
Right.
And so that's, I went to school for that. My first job, I moved to my family to Detroit when I graduated. I was hired by a large bank in Detroit called Comerica Bank.
Okay.
And I spent, the first, I think it was 8 weeks or so, just in a classroom setting at the bank. They were, teaching about corporate finance and, just guys out of colleges and ladies out of college. And so they took us through that. And then I spent the next probably year and a half on the job training with corporate lenders that mentored me and taught me and so on. So that was my first. That
Wow. Okay. So you got into the Comerica Bank, right?
Yeah.
Funny because we're 5, 6 minutes into the podcast. It's funny how within that first 5, 6 minutes, you probably mentioned the word money like at least half a dozen times, right?
Yeah.
Which, and I get it because especially with your background and coming from the same background as well, too, lacking the knowledge and just the experience of money makes you realize that, okay, I need to learn this particular field here in order to lead a successful life and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So how was it? I know it had to be a big shock coming out of the military to now getting into the boardroom of the corporate in the bank that you work for, Comerica in Detroit. So how was the initial adjustment? And when did the light bulb hit that, okay, you had the first 8 weeks of training. I know that was like, oh, whoa, shock and all. But when did you realize, okay, this is something I'm good at. Let me go ahead and take this to the next level.
Yeah, it's a great question because you used the word shock, and that's what it was.
Right.
I really didn't have when I went to the work at the bank. I had to buy a suit, I had to get new shoes, things that I didn't do as a kid or anything. So I mean, just the basics of getting in the mindset that I have to be the part that I now am
Right.
part of. I have to be that person. That in and of itself is a mental gymnastic, or was for me, to get used to that.
Right.
Dealing with smart people at the bank, I had this, I'm trying to think of the word, like imposter. I think the word is imposter, where I'm with all of these people and the thought, oh, I don't belong here. I'm not smart enough to do this. That's the imposter syndrome. And it was just for my upbringing. And I had to break that. And the way I broke it is the more I challenged myself to be, a corporate lender, I had enough humility that I listened to other people and how they did things. And then it occurred to me over time, I can do this. The answers that I get from my analysis are the same as these smart people at the bank, right? And so over time, with mentoring help, I became aware that I'm not dumb, like I always thought I was as a kid, that I can do this. And the big reason was I kept doing hard things. The things that challenge people and stretch people those are the things that make them better.
Absolutely.
And so today, in today's world, a lot of people, they don't like to feel uncomfortable. They want things in an easy manner. That is not the path of success at all. So I went through that whole thing over the years. I've been in corporate banking for 36 years now.
Wow.
I learned something. Yeah, it's a long time. I'm an old man. But I've done the same thing for a long time, and I still learn things every day. Something will pop up that I haven't seen before. So having humility allows you to be taught. And over all the years I've done this, the confidence level in the early days just kept growing. And it's from doing hard things and making myself feel uncomfortable.
Okay, awesome. So not the final question before we move on to, the next segue into the next part here. So what was, as you're getting your groove, your mojo and everything like that, what was some of your responsibilities? Were you more handling on the consumers, handling businesses or the commercial side? What were some of your main responsibilities as you were going through your career now with the bank?
Yeah, I've never done consumer lending. So I've never done like home loans or car loans or things like that. Honestly, I've
Okay.
been, in the bank for so many years. That's a foreign side of the bank to me. I don't know how, I don't know how any of that works within the bank, but I've always been on the corporate side. And so
Okay.
when I started it, so when I started with Comerica, they took me through various divisions within the corporate finance department. So what I mean by that is I went to a group that just focused with dealing with automotive dealers. So
Oh, okay.
for planning cars, that was my first thing, is for planning cars for big automotive dealers and learning how to read those crazy GM and Ford financial statements that
Ooh.
dealers use and all that. But then I went into, which is where I mainly focus my career on, is more of the riskier type of businesses that need a lot of, you roll your sleeves up, you look at the financial statements, and you analyze very deeply to try and help these companies that are not like stellar credits, but yet they're bankable credits, but it takes a lot of work. And that's where my just about all of my 36 years have been focused.
Which that's dope right there. So essentially, of course, yeah, it's good to help out the GM, the Fords. Obviously, you're in Detroit. Understand that that's the mecca for automotive industry, but focusing on I would say the companies that really need it, right? That's really that want that help. That's when you, like you said, okay, let me roll up my sleeves. Let me get back into my Air Force days and get in the trenches here a little bit,
That's
right?
exactly it. That's it.
So that's good, and that's a perfect segue to some of the next topic we would have discussed, because obviously, as you know, here in the podcast, a lot of our viewers are entrepreneurs, are aspiring, or they just starting out. Although they may not be in the corporate world, they are aspiring to get to that point. Now, working with some of these companies here, what are some of the initial things that you realize that, okay, a company must have in order to position themselves in order to be able to receive funding from a bank?
Yeah. So it's, there are a few things that are very important. And I've seen a lot of things over all the years, but the common thing where companies need to have things put together, and that is if it's a smaller company that's already in operation but they're trying to grow, and they need to have their financial statements in really good shape. A lot of companies, they don't pay attention to their internal financial statements. A lot of times you need a CPA to come in and prepare some financial statements for you.
Right.
But some of these companies, for example, they're started by maybe an individual has really good knowledge of building a product, making a product, but they don't know finance, right? They don't know the importance of internal control, preparing financial statements, projections. Bankers want to see that you, as an owner of this company, know not only how to build a product, but how to run your business and
How to
use
run the
financial.
business. Yes.
It's how you run it, because you can run into big problems. You may have a successful product, but if you're not properly financed, your eye is not on your cash flow, you can run into very serious problems, even if you have a successful product.
Yeah, and I get it, because it's a big difference where you're just passionate. Maybe sometimes you start your business as a hobby and you're so in tune of the product or service, but not realizing, hold on, this is not a hobby here. This is a business I need to
That's
run.
right. That's right. And bankers look for that. They look at things like, again, if it's a smaller company, you're trying to move up, they'll initially look at credit scores. Like your personal credit score is used for, buying a car and things like that. But corporate bankers use the same thing just to see how you've handled your personal finances, because that is a mirror of how you may be handling your corporate finances. So little things like that, pay attention, get help from a CPA or a consultant, have a good business plan, keep your financial statements in good shape, and always be transparent with not only the bank, but your vendors, customers, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You highlighted some very, very good points right there, especially with the credit, because, the business, when you run it, when you walk in the bank, it's paper. You're not bringing a whole building in there. So,
That's right.
so the bank has to go by you personally, credit wise, and your credit worthiness to kind of use that as a metric and litmus test to say, okay, if he's responsible personally, more than likely professionally, we could expect the same thing as well too.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and go into your book, right?
Sure.
Before we get to the next. So you decided to go ahead and put this book together, Searching for Change in Appalachian Life, right? Two questions. What, number one, what inspired you to write this book? And number two, what is the book about?
Yeah, another great question. So here's the story of this book.
Right.
I mentioned earlier that I have 8 grandchildren. My oldest grandchild, she's 12 now. When she was born, I was in the hospital and I was out, kind of in the waiting area. And I sat back and I thought, I learned how to be a father. I didn't have a dad around that much, but I had to learn how to be a father over the years with my own kids. But then I was sitting in there and in the waiting room and I thought, what the heck do grandfathers do? I don't know what grandfathers do.
Right, there's no manual you could pick up in a
No.
waiting room.
No, I just got this father thing down and all my kids are grown now, so now I've got to start over. And so the only thing I could think of was maybe teach her when she's older some of lessons that I learned growing up, the issues that kids grow up with, the feelings, inadequacies that at least for me, and then things that I did to help change that over time. I thought, I'm going to take some notes. So I pulled out a pad and paper and I started writing down from my memory all of these lessons that I learned over from, elementary school clear up to today. And I started writing those down and I've always kept a journal. When I was 18, my wife and I started dating when we were 18 and she gave me this journal and she said, Jan, here's a journal, keep your notes. And I didn't think much of it at the time, but I started writing down, not every day, but maybe a couple, 2-3 times a month. I'd write some things down. And I have volumes of those. So I went back into those and it refreshed my memory on a lot of events and so on. But the goal was, for me, I knew she wasn't going to be the only grandchild. And there were stories in there my own kids didn't know.
Right.
So I started to take all these notes and organize them. And previous bank that I was with years ago, I was talking to some people and they said, Jan, this is some interesting stuff. You ought to write a book. And I didn't know how to write a book. I'm a business writer. I don't know how to write. So it took me 11 years to write that book because I went through multiple drafts and I'd pitch them after a year. And then I hired a coach to help me think about writing from a storytelling mode instead of a business mode. And that took time, but and then my schedule was busy. So it took me 11 years, but I got it all done. It's on Amazon, it's published, but that's the reason I wanted to help people. It turned into not just my kids and grandkids. I thought, there might be people out there that could use this information. And it's not, the book isn't about money. It's about change.
Right.
So the title of the book has 2 meanings. The first is, when I was young, we were always my mother was looking for gas money. We would put $1 in, go as far as we could, but she would often say, Jan, we need to find some money. So we would search for change in the cushions of the sofa and drawers. So searching for change, right? Yeah. But then the higher meaning of the book is searching for change as a person. How do you go from being a poor kid in Appalachia to making changes in your life to break out of that generational mold of no fathers. So my father didn't have a father around. His father didn't have a father around much. And it was for various reasons. We're from a coal mining family. My generation had a grandfather that was killed in a coal mine accident. Another grandfather. I never knew any of my grandfathers. Another one died from black lung type issues from the coal mine, pneumonia. So it was about making these changes in a life to break my generational mold and maybe help others do the same.
I see. Okay, I love how you've put that, right? Using your childhood experience growing up to be able to go ahead and put this book together and title it as well. And to now go into the next question I want to ask, and it's like it could have been easy for you to use your childhood experiences as playing victim, or to be able to say that, man, I'm never going to be able to, like, look what my background is. Look, you even said it, that your confidence wasn't even high. Like, you didn't even think about money or know about money. Right. And I'm pretty sure in this book, you've highlighted that, hey, it's not good to be using these excuses. That's going to hold you back. That's a roadblock there. Right. So what are some of the principles and philosophies you try to teach in this book to help people change their mindset on money?
Yeah, it started with, for me, I'm a very unhappy kid. I hated high school, no confidence. Yeah, I just, and it was
most of us don't like school, right? So
yeah. There are the popular kids. I was not a popular kid. I didn't know how to talk to girls that much. I tried. Maybe this is somewhat common for a lot of folks. but I just wasn't happy, and I got tired as a kid being unhappy. This is an important change for me, where when I was a junior in high school, I met a couple of men. There were a couple of men from church I was going to. One was a very successful business guy in town, and another was very successful. He was a truck driver, but he had a wonderful family. Both of them had wonderful families and kids, and they were just very happy. And I used to look at them and I thought, man, there are some of these men out there that are good men that are happy no matter what they do. And I got a call from both of them out of the blue. I didn't initiate it. And they just, hey, let me come over and visit with you. My point is they gave me they were kind of mentors to me when I was in high school. And they said things I had never heard before. Like, the businessman would say, Jan, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. I never thought about it. Maybe work in a steel mill. My dad worked in a steel mill.
Right.
And things like that. And they opened up my mind to things. You don't know what you don't know, right?
All right, I see what you said. You thinking maybe let me follow my father's footsteps, where they're like, hold on, there's a bigger world out there you can explore. Yeah.
Much bigger than I had ever considered. And then you weave in this lack of confidence that I can never do that. Yeah. They started to change my mind on that. And then I had to prove it for myself, which is the military. I got to get through this. I want to see if I can get through this. Basic training, tech school, things like that, exposed me to things that I hadn't been, as I mentioned before. But it was couple that with a lack of knowledge of money and how money works. And do you just spend money? When you're poor people think about, I make this money and I spend it. Make this money and I spend it. And nothing changes. Your life never changes.
Same thing over and over and over again. Yeah.
That's right. So that was, kind of how I started that. It took time, but that's how I started the change in my life.
Got it. Okay. And that's understandable and everything like that. So, and obviously that was the inspiration for the book. I'm assuming the message you would want to impart on the readers is that it doesn't matter what your background is. Anyone can be able to make a mindset change when it comes to finances. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's anybody can do it. The thing that part of this book is to let people know that the book isn't about money. It's about changing lives and really being happy, and what makes you happy, what makes people happy. And happiness doesn't always come from money. I meet a lot of people that are very happy, that are just living their life with their families, and they're not wealthy. And then I meet wealthy people that aren't happy at all. So it's not about money. It's about finding things in your life that can make you happy, and make sure that you're continuing to grow, and don't limit yourself to any preconceived idea that you have about yourself, because you're often wrong.
Absolutely. And you're so right. Especially when now, like yourself, when kids get involved, first your children, now your grandkids and everything like that, right? And
Yeah,
I'm glad that you brought up your grandkids, because again, I'm pretty sure that was another aha moment. Like, hold on, right? Maybe like, wait a minute,
right.
right, I got to put this thing together now. But I'm pretty sure you maybe have had this mindset when you're kids, but I know now with your grandkids, you start thinking of this magical word that's called legacy,
Yeah,
right? Legacy.
big time.
So building wealth, and you want to have a better life for your children and grandkids than what you have had, right? So
That's right.
what's the one money lesson that you wish to impart to your grandkids?
You're on a roll with these good questions. So, yeah. So the thing about money is, a lot of people they earn money and then they want to spend it on the really nice car, vacation, and they'll even go and borrow money for like a vacation or new clothes and things like that. Money, the thing about money is to use it wisely and be patient. Patience with, if I'm 25 years old or 22 years old, I know it's hard for some young people, but you don't need the nicest car. You don't
Yeah.
need the nicest vacation where you're struggling to pay those bills. And even to the extent that you borrow money and you develop this credit card debt. I often say to people with a lot of credit card debt that, look, let's think about this in a different way. You are spending your future labor. It's like you're in
Wow.
bondage almost, because you're spending money, borrowing money today that you're going to
Be
have to
paid
put your
later.
labor in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's your
Okay.
future income, and you've got to work in the future to pay off something that you spent today. It's
It's asinine, because it's like you haven't even got to that time period yet, and
right.
it's already disposed of. It's already allocated to something, and
Right.
you're not even there yet. Yeah, so I
Right.
see what
And
you're
it's a
saying.
lot of times it's not even an investment. It's hey, I want to go on vacation, so I'm going to borrow this money. The vacation ends in a week or two. The debt remains, right? So
Right.
it's that mindset of, when you get income, you get income, put
Mhm.
money aside in a savings account. Before you spend any money on your bills, put money aside into a savings account,
Right.
or a little mutual fund, and build that up every paycheck. Do that first, and then make the rest of your income work on your expenses
Exactly.
without borrowing that money. And it's, people don't like the word budget. I, it's more of a plan.
Exactly.
It's
Let's
a
talk
plan for your life.
a more sexual word, a spending plan. How
Yeah,
about
it's
that?
a plan. Yeah. Don't use that word budget. Um, it's a spending plan for your financial life, because as you're patient, and especially when you're young, when you're 40 years old or 50 years old, you have this pile of money that allows you to do things that you would never have been dreamed that you could do, simply because you were a little disciplined in your younger life to set money aside and be patient with your purchases and things like that.
And I love, you said it so eloquently. Number one, say when you get your paycheck, the first bill should be rewarding yourself, pay yourself,
That's right.
saving 10%, 15, whatever you're able to do. But
Yeah.
that should be before anything. Then once you pay yourself, then of course pay your bills, which then I'm sure from what you have your with your career in corporate finance, putting together a spending plan, right? Most
Yeah.
people don't even know what's going out. They know what's coming in, but they're not
You
even
know,
aware of what's going out, right? So
all right, you're so right. Yes, and so a spending plan or a budget, it's not just for, the just all of us normal people. Companies have, I've put together so many budgets for corporations, everybody, no matter where you're at in life, companies, they all use a budget and they
right.
stick to it. That's the key to financial success, is to be disciplined with your spending. And I like to think of it like when we talk about pay yourself first, it's, some people want to put sand in a jar. Sand in a jar is your everyday expenses, right? And then you try and fit the rocks in, and it doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit.
But if you put the rocks in first, which are
the sand
then,
can go.
then the sand can go where you want. It's the same thing. The same thing with money is you can make it fit if you prioritize what you do with your money from the first dollar. Put some money aside. If you're in debt, pay that debt down first as much as you can, and then pay your bills. That will get you out of a situation and create future for you.
Future generation. And I like because you've given the ultimate blueprint on how to unlock financial freedom for yourself, right? Yeah. And, put some aside, pay yourself, take care of this future debt or any future debt that you probably accumulated, credit card debt, whatever the case may be, then go with your expenses. And sometimes when it comes to your expenses, that means making sacrifices, right? You can't have you can't have that venti caramel frappuccino every morning at Starbucks.
Right.
You can't have the Netflix and the Hulu subscription. You may have to pick one, right?
Yeah.
So.
And when you're young, some of these things, when you want to get the expensive coffee, you want multiple subscriptions to things. It's hard to take those things out when you're used to them. But what's the alternative? You get rid of some of those things, and then you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm having financial freedom by adhering to a spending plan, and I can see my future finances getting better. It'll never change unless you prioritize your spending to the things that you really need and go from there.
And you're right. And guess what? And most people need to realize, hey, this is not a long-term set up timeline, because $9.99 here, $12.99 here, $15.99 here. This adds up to a couple, maybe $100 or $200 per month. Go towards $100, $200 a month. That's $2,000-$3,000 a year. Now it's like, okay, in 2-3 years, I can get myself out of this hardship that I'm in. And then now maybe if I allocate another 2-3 years, that's the extra money that I could actually accumulate towards, which Warren Buffett said this is the eighth wonder of the world. I'm pretty sure you get compound interest. Right?
Yeah. I spend time helping. I'm currently working with 3 families. It is volunteer things.
Right.
Families in need, they're trying to get their finances in order. First thing I tell them, I want you to track for a month every dollar that you spend. I don't care if it's a pack of gum that you buy, list every dollar that you spend. And they've done that, and we've come back, and they are shocked at the waste that they see. Because, when you buy a little something here, a coffee here, and you look at it over a month's time, then it hits you. They aren't little things. Individually they are, but when you add them over a month,
accumulation of it,
it's a big deal. And so it's recognizing what you're doing first, and then you can put your budget together. Once you recognize, here are all the things that I spend money on, and I don't need that. What happens is your emotions, your anxiety levels start to come down from a finance standpoint. Once you see things and once you gain control of that, because you're now in control, it does something into your mind and brain that calms you down a little bit, because you know where you're at and you know where you need to be.
Exactly. And so great. You can't fix what you can't see.
Exactly.
A lot of us may have, and I'm pretty sure you even, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen that's watching this episode, don't feel like we're poking fun at you. Don't feel like we're admonishing you or anything like that, because guess what, Jan, you probably could attest to this, right, and back me up. Hey, entrepreneurs and corporate and people that have these big companies, they go through the same problem too. They think they have everything in their head, but nothing's written down. Nothing is put in a plan, or, and that's why they need to come to someone like Jan. It's like, hey, I need help. I have the vision. I'm the visionary, but I'm not good in Excel sheets. I'm not good at putting all of the things down and everything. So I just want you to see if you could back up. Hey, just because you're an everyday person doesn't necessarily mean that you're always in this boat, because this is something that's, everybody go through it, right?
Everybody goes through it. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life. This is a must, just to control your future. And this goes back to happiness. Is the more that you can control your finances and get those where you want it to be, I will tell you, the happier you become and the more you have greater ability to help others. And that's the ultimate goal, is where, it's this, the end goal of all of this finance stuff is, yes, get yourself in a good place where you can live a life where you're not totally stressed out all the time about finances. But it's also trying to get yourself into a place where you can help others. And if you want to be happy, don't think about yourself all the time. It's about the neighbor. It's about the single mom down the road that's trying to raise her kids. It's being aware and then having the ability to help in some way.
Absolutely, man. Today, man, I'm glad that you mentioned how I brought the fire questions, but Jan, you've been bringing the fire answers as well, too.
I appreciate you letting me.
Before we wrap up, if there's one piece of advice you could share with the audience for them to build their blueprint, because, we are in Blueprint Nation here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If there's one piece of advice for any aspiring entrepreneur to build their $1 million legacy blueprint, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah. I think it starts with knowing who you are, knowing, and we all like to know our strengths, listing our strengths out, but it's also maybe even more important is to know what you lack in ability. Maybe you have some things it's just knowing maybe your weaknesses or things you want to improve on. And first, work on those. Know where you want to get to, but then start with yourself. What do I need to do to myself? Whether it's overcoming confidence or you're just such in a hole, where do you start? Get with some people that can help you with that, and then build from there. Start with, okay, I'm not making enough income. What do I need to do to change that? Do I need to go to a trade school? Do I need to go to a university to get that skill? But it's also being patient with yourself. Being patient allows you to do the things that need to be done, knowing that the results aren't going to be there always immediately, but they will come for you. But it's staying steady. Don't be a victim. Don't blame others. If you have some financial issues or it's nobody else's issue, once you realize that I can control my own destiny, or you can control your own destiny, then you begin to take these steps to achieve those goals, and be patient and don't quit. You will find that there are, it's like a roller coaster at times. You'll have these highs where things are working out and you go, yeah, it's really the lows that you go through that you have to work through. And don't quit. Keep moving forward. And you will see over time, your life will change. Your finances will get better, but it takes hard work and patience to get there.
There you go. I love it. Man, you've brought it. Don't bring that victimhood mentality. You know, I always say, there's no sense of complaining because nobody wants to hear it. Everybody no problem, right? And like you said, it's hard work. It's a lot of people that just always try to run from it, put it into hard work. It takes time.
It does.
We're in an internet microwave society where they probably see things on the internet and they're under the false perception that, hey, oh, wow, this person is an overnight millionaire, multimillionaire, successful, they're famous, but we don't know what they took in order for them to get to that point. So everybody has their own timeline, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And the other thing that's important, just to mention, is and this is more in today's society, you
Right.
can find something every day. If you search, and a lot of people are good at this, they will search for something to be offended about or be angry with, no matter how small it is. And
Right.
it's, you can find the storms. I kind of call it finding the storms in life every day. But it's, that doesn't get you anywhere. You have gratitude for everything that is happening in your life, even the little things. And if I might, I'll tell you a quick little story.
Sure, go ahead. Totally.
One of the benefits of growing up poor, I have a very high gratitude level. Every time I fill this goes back to my book. I'm talking about finding money for gas. This is absolute truth. When I fill my car tank up with gas, I
Right.
will sit there and I'll look at that needle on full. And I tell you, to this day, I have this feeling of comfort and gratitude that I can do that.
Oh, that,
Gratitude is tied to happiness, and it's tied to even the little things in your life. So you can find things to be unhappy with, but the better thing is to find the things every day that you're thankful for and that you have gratitude for. And you will see that your outlook changes to a more positive outlook in life, and you become a little more happier when you find gratitude instead of. Don't look for the storms in life. They're all over the place. People will try and make you feel unhappy like they are, but it's gratitude within yourself that will lead to happiness.
absolutely. Thank you for definitely sharing. And it's a small nugget like that that's so profound. I'm glad you shared that,
Yeah.
and it's easy to be caught up in the negatives in life, right? Whether it's social media or just the everyday struggles. People, if you're struggling to pay your bills, you're living in a rat race, it's always to just wake up in a wrong side of the bed. But like
Yeah.
you said, man, look at you, just seeing a full gas tank.
Oh,
Just seeing a full gas tank, man. That
things
right
stay
there
with
is
you.
like,
It'll stay with you. Being able to pay. My mother couldn't pay the heating bill when I was young, and we struggled to find the money for that, and just the weight of that on my shoulders in high school. But now, when I'm able to pay the electric bill, the gas bill, things like that, I still have this feeling of gratitude that I can do that. It
yeah.
changes one's outlook.
Absolutely, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm, in the barometer of value, this has got to be one of the most impactful episodes and interviews I've ever done in the regards of value, because, I've had plenty of guests. We usually, we talk about technical things, we talk
Yeah.
about, things of that nature. But Jan, you've really, really hit a grand slam today in bringing value just to the everyday person that's watching
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And that's dope, because most people would have gotten intimidated at the beginning of this conversation. Oh, he's in the corporate finance. He only helps the big company. But guess what? We didn't even talk about any of that throughout our
No,
conversation, right?
it's about people. It's
Right.
all about people at the end of the day.
So I'm truly appreciative for this interview. I had a great time, great interview, and you sharing the insights. So, before we wrap up, I'm pretty sure a lot of the viewers today, definitely want to keep following you. I want to support you. I want them to go ahead and check out your book. So if you could go ahead and take this time out, share a little bit where the audience could connect with you. Is the book out? If it is, where they can pick up a copy.
Yeah.
If coming out, where they can, so we could go ahead and give you all the support and love you deserve.
Oh, I appreciate it. The book is on Amazon. It gets good reviews. I don't advertise. This is the only way I mention my book. I'm not out there, doing that, because the book is just meant to help people. But it's on Amazon. It is also on Audible. I had somebody. I wish I could have done it. My voice isn't always that great.
Hey.
I had somebody do an Audible. They did a fantastic job. So you can find it there if you don't like to read. I have, I'll give you my personal email is jan.ackley@gmail. If somebody has a question, wants to know more about something, I volunteer my time to help people. That's what I'm about now. I'm very busy I still work in corporate finance. But the older I get, the more I realize it's helping people satisfies me and it makes me happy. And so email me. If somebody has a question, do it.
Man, I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, reach out to Jan. don't be intimidated because of
No.
his expertise and his track record of his career, because as you can see on our conversation today, man, he can drop some true gems and value when it
Thank
comes
you.
into just being able to go ahead and level up personally, being able to unlock financial freedom, which that has been pretty much the ethos of our conversation today. So reach out to him. He's dropped his
Yeah.
personal email, guys. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know what
do
it's
it.
like. Come on.
Well, your audience should look at me not as this corporate finance guy. I'm a family man I'm a poor kid from Appalachia that happens to be a family man that knows a
Love.
little bit about money. So that's how they should look at me. Poor kid from Ohio.
Okay. All right. Hey guys, guess what? Hey, a lot of people can relate because, you know, we're in a society now where a lot of people, 75% of America live in paycheck to paycheck. So whether you're
Oh,
in
yeah.
Ohio, Alabama, Mississippi, you know, Oklahoma, you can relate to what growing up as Jan is. So
Yeah.
definitely reach out to him. Me, I can tell you, I'm born and raised here in South Florida. Same situation. Single mother, work 2-3 jobs. Me, my brother and sister, 4 of us stuck in a house, not having to have all the, you know, the spoon-fed lifestyle that most people would want. But guess what? We're here today. We're pushing, we're thriving, and we're trying to do the same thing, unlock financial freedom. So I truly appreciate it, Jan, man. Love it.
Yeah,
Love
you're
it.
the man. I appreciate you having me on. This
You
is
know,
very important work that you do.
these type of conversations we need to have more of.
Yeah.
These type of conversations, they're impactful. It changes lives, and we never know. It could even change generations as well, too, because it plants a seed to water a whole new generational tree. All right. So I love it, Jan. Thanks for being on today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be able to go ahead and catch dope episodes like this, where we have guests like Jan to learn about financial freedom, personal finance, entrepreneurship, the important things in life to be able to help you get to the next level, check us out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 p.m. on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, as well as Spotify. This has been a wonderful episode. Listen, definitely support Jan. All of the links that Jan has mentioned to his Amazon book, as well as to his email and social media, will be on the show notes. So just check out the show notes and you'll be able to go ahead and show Jan the support and love that he deserves. All right, so go ahead and do that for him. But as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tapping in. And we will catch you on the flip side. Take care. Bye-bye.
This conversation about building up your blueprint. It's time to take it, cause time is wasted. Go grind and chase it, don't lose it. This generation need integration with information to move with. An inclination that is abiding in entertaining improvement. Yep, Wesley Paul with Blueprint. His guests are exclusive. Get on and tune in and then learn some new tips about credit, finance, investment. A nice chance to get rich and buy land. Flip it, quick 9 bands. Learn all the skills from Wesley did it. Learn how to build successful business. Run up a mill and get the digits. Run up a mill. Look, safe place where guests are speaking. Based off financial freedom. All facts, no cap, believe it. Podcast, you have to see it.